What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one, we're going to be breaking down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar and some very important things affecting the market for today. Also, what's going on with these resistance levels to be watching for on SPY and all these different tickers. But before I break these down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you put in $500, you guarantee 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. And putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. The offer has been extended for another 24 hours, so it ends tomorrow now. So check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's happening to the market thus far. So looking at SPY right now, we have some very, very interesting developments. Although we had some sell signals developing on SPY, this thing is still trying to hold up and push. And this thing could attempt to break out higher. And I did break out this possibility. But in order for this to happen, we have to try to break this high up here. So we're going to be watching to see if we get some kind of rejection or not, or if we break this high. That's why it's going to be very important to watch this resistance. I'll be breaking down the scenarios now going into like the later part of this video. Let's first talk about the economic calendar. As a reminder, for today, we have some housing data coming out. I think this data just came out. The housing data was looking kind of decent. We saw lots of housing starts, and this is what's helping the market hold up. We're going to be watching to see what happens with the New York Fed Treasury purchases. Does this lead to another increase? We also have Bostic from the Fed giving a speech alongside another Fed speaker. So with all these Fed speakers coming out, we'll be watching to see how this affects the markets. There's not really anything else coming out for today that's like that crazy or that significant. But once again, we'll be watching to see how these things end up looking. Now, when it comes to other things affecting the markets, I just want to mention that with the market rally that's just continuing, things are looking quite decent. The U.S. military has had enough, and we're actually looking at the fact that the U.S. and other nations are just going to band together to protect commercial ships that have been under fire. So that's some big news that came out. Apple's putting the freeze on sales of a couple of watches just days before Christmas because of an intellectual property disagreement. The tech giant's going to hold some online sales for the Series 9 and the Ultra Watch 2, which is once again going to hurt their revenue. This is some negative news that came out, and this is very surprising for many different investors. There's also a large settlement worth $25 million that's going to be taking place. So once again, some negative news for Apple. On top of this, there's been some new news that came out for the hydrogen-powered truck maker Nikola. Unfortunately, we had some negative news that came out, and not the best of news so far. And on top of all of this, there's also some new news that came out involving a very important actor from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So just wanted to call that out, guys. Lots of new news coming out. But now let's break down the charts. So despite what was happening yesterday, despite this rejection, instead of continuing to drop like this, SPY actually just continued to gap up, which was something that we anticipate as a possibility, but it was looking less probable for that move to play out. And now we're going to be watching something different on SPY. So if SPY, right now we're actually very close to this like 473 area when we open, we're going to be watching to see if SPY ends up rejecting to come down at 473, or do we break out? Because now it's looking like this thing is going to attempt to push higher. But in order for us to be bullish, you want to see it break 474. So the green line is the bullish case. If we continue to push, we break 474. This could just push up for 475.75 plus, get very close to 476 and start pushing up very nicely. But if we reject near, this 473 range, we have a gap to fill down here at 471.8, and eventually another gap down closer to 470. So does SPY reject near 473 and start coming back down? Or do we break this resistance and come back up to 474? This is going to depend on different factors. Yesterday, when we were near this range, we actually rejected. You could see SPY got this rejection right over here. Now it's trying to make its way back up. And I just want to mention that on the 30 minutes time frame, let's just get this to reload. We're looking a little bullish. It looks like it's going to try to push higher. So it might actually defy the odds again and try to push higher. So there's a chance it might retest 474. And we'll see if this can actually break. So to me, it looks like it might push higher, but we have to see if it could break this resistance. If it breaks the resistance, we could push much higher. But if we fail to do so, there could be a rejection. So make sure you watch the 474 area. We're currently at 473. We'll see how it goes from here, but I do want to note that it looks like it might try to push higher. But watch and see if we could break resistance now just to see if this could turn. Now, initially, we were talking about a rejection of 473 for us to come back down. So far, it hasn't really done that. So just be a little careful as the market is just full of trickery. And even these technical indicators don't always work these days. And the reason for that is because of manipulation. They want us to suspect, there'll be a drop coming. They want us to think certain things, and they just push it much higher just to trick more and more investors. So SPY is still uptrending. It looks like it might push higher, but we have to see if we can break 474 to turn bullish. As of right now, it's holding up decently. On the QQQ, the QQQ is kind of flat right now. We're basically retesting 408. We're going to be watching to see if this could hold. We're kind of chopping around this area. If we break this, we'll look for a push closer to like 409 plus. Then we have 410 above that. If we reject here, watch the support at this blue trend line at 407. Then we have a gap down there as well at 406.8. We're going to be watching to see. Watch support right over here at 407 flat. If we lose 407, expect this gap to fill at 406.8. If we break 408, expect it to push up much higher. The QQQ is looking a little bit weaker than SPY, starting to reject off 408. It looks like it might actually attempt to go a little higher to back this 408 and then reject and come back down to the blue trend line and basically fill this gap at 406.8, then just kind of trade sideways. That's what the QQQ looks like. It's not looking as strong as SPY. But once again, guys, it might just maintain this blue trend line. So we have a new uptrend that could be established from the blue trend line. QQQ could still go higher. It could do something like this where it just retest this trend line, grabs liquidity, comes down just a little bit, maybe backtest this, and then comes back up and just starts to uptrend like this. And we might see something like this depending on how we end up reacting to 408. So I see this thing just being range bound. We could see a little pop and drop to fill this gap and then come back up. QQQ is looking a little bit weaker than SPY, but we'll be watching just to be safe. On Nvda, I just want to mention that Nvda, we were talking about a rejection. Remember yesterday I said it might reject off this 504 area. It came down almost exactly to the level we called out near this 490 area. You're going to be watching Nvidia rebound towards 498 and make its way back down towards this liquidity at 490. I think 490 is going to be a level worth watching for on Nvidia. I was talking about this thing retesting this breakout area, and that's what ended up happening to the stocks. We're going to be looking for a rebound like this and eventually another potential rejection and a move back down towards this liquidity. Just like this is something that's a real possibility. So going to be watching to see if Nvidia kind of rebounds just a little bit and makes its way back down to come back to this liquidity. I'm going to be watching to see if it ends up retesting that intraday range. On Tesla, okay, Tesla to me is not looking that great, guys. I mean, I know Tesla's trying to rebound right now, but when you look at the charts, okay, it's just not looking that great. I was talking yesterday about this thing rebounding just a little bit, retesting 254. That's exactly what it's been doing. But we have a gap to fill now. We're going to be watching this yellow trend line. Does Tesla hold this trend line temporarily? As of right now, it's holding. Do we do something like this and then break later and then start making our way back down? Or can Tesla bounce off the trend line and start pushing up? Well, as of right now, it looks like Tesla's kind of weak. It looks like it could backtest 254, maybe go a little higher, and might just continue to respect the trend line for some time. But there might be a break. Excuse me. There might be a break coming to fill, these imbalances, these wicks down here. I could see some downside on Tesla, guys. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to 248. That's my honest opinion. So just be a little careful. I think Tesla's looking kind of weak. Watch that 250 support. Let's see if Tesla holds it. It is just barely holding the yellow trend line. It's barely on life support right now. If it loses 250, there's going to be a bigger drop coming. Watch 252 as support, 250. And if it loses that, expect a bigger move to the downside to 248 and then 247. All right, so it's not looking that great to me. We have to see if Tesla could hold. Be very careful on Tesla, guys. Last but not least, for Aapl. On Aapl, I just want to call out that Aapl is trying to recover. It's actually trying to break above this resistance now. But I am a little concerned because there's still a lot of bad news that came out. We're going to be watching, and you guys can see it actually rejects off this resistance exactly. Can we break 197? If Apple could break 197, it's going to push up for this 198.25 area like that. if it manages to break this resistance. If it fails to break 197, it's going to backtest this channel. We'll see if it ends up breaking back into the channel. So we're going to be watching this very carefully. So there's a bullish and bearish case. 197 is a key level for Apple. If we break it, it's going to push up higher. If it fails, it's going to reject and just retest this upper resistance, and we'll see if it breaks back into the channel or not. But 197 is the key level. Break it, we're bullish. If we fail, we could come back down. So watch it very carefully. That's going to be key for Apple, and that's going to have a big effect on the whole market. All right, guys. So once again, I know SPY, I was anticipating that this thing could get a rejection. We did reject yesterday, but this thing ended up just gapping back up and pushing despite negative indicators. So to be bullish, you want to see it break 474 and hold it. To be bearish, you want to see another big rejection and a move to come back down to fill this gap. It does look like it might push a little bit more. It's still technically uptrending. Could try to push up when we open, but watch and see if we get that rejection or not. We're not that far from 474. Watch and be patient, guys. Do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, guys, and peace out.